it was just leaking water and pouring. They've had to rip all the concrete out and replace all the plumbing.
Where inmates are in each other's spaces, they're too close.
But every 6 years or so, we've got to replace all this.
I just think I need to echo the fact that this isn't really a want. You know, I don't want a new jail, but I need a new jail.
To have Sheriff and Roger Sullivan and County Administrator Philip Haynes Smith to talk about the jail and give an update and ask questions. So I'll just go ahead and let you get started. Thank you.
To make me a little clearer, I'm going to take this off. The jail project has been kind of an ongoing thing. It's been kind of something we've been struggling with for a while. Give you a little history.
This is Sheriff Roger Sullivan, jurisdiction Saline County, Kansas. He's been with the county for more than 30 years, starting as a juvenile corrections officer back in 1988. From there, he was promoted to a patrol officer and served for 20 years before coming back to serve as the captain of the Saline County Jail. That was the jail's first year of overcrowding, and it's been a problem ever since.
At least 75 to 80% of my job is dealing with issues with the jail. This jail project has been an ongoing thing. It really started when I took over the jail as a captain in 2010, and we went through trying to get it on the ballot, which it did go on in 2014, and did fail. Was not by a large margin it failed, but it did fail. And then since I took office, the first 6 or 8 months was allowing the new commissioners to get up to speed. And then once they realized what the problem was, they got on board. And we've been working together with them since then to try and get this new issue in front of the voters.
It's a vitally important consideration for the county to vote on. But Sullivan says the benefits outweigh the costs. The jail we have now has run its course and has housed its fair share of notorious inmates. He's not the only one working under adverse conditions in the old jail.
My name is Captain Stan Fruits. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for approximately 30 years. I've been the jail administrator for approximately 4 years. When I started in the old jail, there was usually like one correction officer, then you had a person who was your supervisor. And when I came back to the jail as a jail administrator, that had all changed. We had at least over 100 more inmates. The building was having trouble that we were in now.
I'm Sergeant Miller. The job duties here vary from housing, classification programs. Been at the Sheriff's Office in the jail for 26 years. So I've seen a wide variety of housing issues related to medical issues, low housing, overcrowding, and our space is very limited, allowing us only a certain few programs that we can bring in at any given time. So we have to be very selective on what we can bring in, how we can bring it in, and what time of day that we can allow those programs to come in. Well, when I started, our population was running roughly 125 to 150 inmates. Now we're up to, on average, 225 to 250. Well, our facility is only built to house 192. So we've had to find other locations to take those inmates out, which eliminates the possibility for them to become productive members in society using the programs that we have. If we have our own inmates in custody in our facility, we can bring those programs, we can connect them with resources here in our community, helping them get jobs, food benefits, housing benefits. If they're here, we can do that. If they're out of county because we don't have space to house them, we can't offer that to them, which doesn't benefit us, it doesn't benefit the community, and it doesn't benefit the inmates. So, if we had a larger facility, we could keep our own inmates, we could allow that and help them help themselves in becoming the productive members of the society that we need and want them to be.
My name is Angie Finch. I'm a lieutenant for corrections in the jail. I've been with the Sheriff's Office about 13 years. I've been a lieutenant just over 4.
Overcrowding is not just a generic problem. It also complicates procedures during the COVID pandemic.
As we could, there were some, that we kind of had a head start on, shutting everything down, not allowing in, outside visitors, attorneys. The court shut down, so we weren't transporting inmates outside of the facility as much. More so, we moved into the quarantining everyone who comes in off the streets for 10 to 14 days before placing them in with the inmates that were already housed here. Trying to keep them, separate. Most part, we have masks were the biggest, trying to get those in, cleaning supplies. Those were the 2 biggest issues at the time, was trying to get those even ordered and into the facility. Having a medical space where we could actually put, medical concerns or issues in, whereas right now we're very limited on that space. It's very hard to keep those people separate from the rest of the population in the housing that we have now.
At one point, we had 19 inmates in a 12-man cell. That 12-man cell is designed for 12 people, so it's got 12 places for people to sit and eat lunch. It had 1 toilet, so if you kind of do the math on that. If you have 19 guys in a space like that, there's going to be a problem. There's only 12 bunks and there's 12 places to eat, so they're using portable bunks, and they're sleeping on the floor, and it's pretty cramped. And there's fights, and it makes it difficult for the people in jail, and it makes it difficult for the officers that work in the jail.
Lieutenant Sutton, corrections of the Saline County Jail, giving you a tour to let you see inside the facility. Start out, missing panels. You can see some of the water spots there, and the vents. All the way down here, you got water spots and missing tiles when it rains.
Sutton also noted the lack of available staff at times, stressing that the new expansion would help relieve the issues he's currently facing.
To man it down here, so the movement officer, when he goes back and forth, he has a lot of business down here, but he's basically what would be a pod officer, and he's really just movement right around the entire jail.
One of the things that happened when they call it the new jail, the 25-year-old jail we have on the west end of the jail was built. They moved the corrections offices areas over there. So what happens with all the paperwork from corrections has to be brought back and forth. The office spaces are separate. So if I have an issue that I need to talk to one of the corrections staff or the captain, they have to walk through the jail from their office space through the jail and to come up to the front office and through the new jail, through the old jail. And so that constant lack of communication, and the officers are separated from the corrections officers are completely separated from patrol.
And with our high turnover rate, we run minimum staff quite a bit. So usually it's only 1 movement officer, and we like to have 3. So this is the medical offices. They've got records in there. This is where they do their consultations in here. So it's a little office room, their personal office, and records all in one. There is no actual medical cell. We've kind of designated one, but it's nowhere near what it needs to be. In order for the nurses to see them, they have to be escorted by a corrections officer into that area if they have to administer meds to anybody.
There's a bed there, but there's no cell. There's no place to put people with medical issues other than in a cell. We don't have an overabundance of single cells. Booking area has 5 cells. One of them's a large one that's a pass-through cell for transport. One of them's a suicide watch cell. And then we have 3 other cells that are usually full of someone that has some kind of mental health issue, or they're intoxicated, they keep intoxicated, or for whatever reason they need to be kept separate. One of those reasons is if they tested positive for COVID. But there's no negative airflow cells in that housing unit anywhere. We have no negative airflow cells anywhere.
With the new jail, our number one thing is going to be having space to put inmates, to separate the ones that need to be separated. We need space for medical. We need space for mental We need space for programs for, to help the inmates as they stay here.
What kind of stuff is going to improve in that regard with the new jail?
Well, the nurses are going to be with an actual medical facility with beds and cells right where they can come out of their offices and be right with them and keep a closer eye on the inmates they need to watch. But this is where we keep the bulk of the inmate stuff. When you come into jail and we get their property and we store it for them, we store it over here in this area, and you'll see all these pipes, all that plumbing that comes through here. If they should get a leak, it's going to drip right on their property. But we really have no other place to store it at.
To talk about the issues with the jail, I'd mentioned earlier that shower that's in that we had failed in the housing area.
There's that door on the other side of the access panel. All this, it was just leaking water and pouring out here. This is where the toilet set, and it would just pool up in here. And we had to get the females out of here. There's all the old pipe, that they ripped up.
Found out late this afternoon, they called me and told me that they have the shower in the booking area, the intake area, and where there's only one shower. When inmates come to jail, they're showered before they go to housing, because if they've got lice or any other issues, they need to be cleaned before they give it to the rest of the inmates and general population. Well, that shower started backing up today. They ran a snake through it and came back with sand. And typically, our experience with that's been when it comes back with sand, there's a sewer line collapse.
You see this all right here? Well, it's been dug up. That's where the plumbing has gone bad. And it runs all the way in here. So as the plumbing gets bad, they've had to rip all the concrete out and replace all the plumbing. That cast iron around there, that cast iron's been eaten away, and it's just running through sand. All right, so this is the search room changing area. Inmates will come in here and they will have to take a shower before they're housed in general population or in the facility in there. This is the shower. We currently have a draining issue in here, so they've been working on it for the past few weeks. I don't know what the prognosis is, but this flooring probably about every 6 years or so, we've got to replace all this and repaint all inside here. We make sure the inmates are wearing the shower shoes, and we usually put a towel down right here, some sort of step on, so they're not like bare concrete. But this is all we got to change them over.
In addition to general deterioration, many features of the jail remain out of date, including aging door mechanisms and camera systems.
This is the new camera systems that we have installed that shoot down here. We had until before these, it was big blocky ones from the 90s. So we've done a really good job of trying to add more cameras in here just to help us out. But this is how we would open these doors. And this wheel, by how you remove this selector, would move these doors in here. So we used to be able, we would block off this first door here, but leave the middle one open. We'll go in there here in a second. And then we would put the mill trays in here. We'd always have this shut. This mechanism is so old that something broke inside there, and they couldn't find a piece to replace it, or anybody that would manufacture it. So we quit using. We quit opening and shutting those doors.
Everybody talks about supporting law enforcement. This is one of those cases where we really need the support from the community. And it is about the community, because a large percentage of the people that are in jail might not be your kids, but they're your neighbor's kids or your friends' kids. They come from the community and they're coming back to the community. And the best way for us to serve the community is to give them back in such a way that they don't come back to jail.
Well, currently right now we have no programs available because of COVID. We've not been able to bring our volunteers into the facility. Prior to the pandemic, we were having Bible studies, we have AA, NA, we have a fatherhood program that would allow fathers to learn behaviors and parenting skills that they may not necessarily have. In addition to that, we were bringing in Central Kansas Mental Health for mental health issues. We were bringing in Central Kansas CKF, Central Kansas Foundation, which would allow them to address their drug and alcohol needs or issues that they may have. So with all of those programs, we're able to continue those after they leave jail, if they're in the community. So we're able to do that. If they're not here, we can't help, and that's our biggest issue. Well, if I had more space, or if we had more space, we would be able to bring in more programs. Not just one version of a Bible study or two versions of a Bible study. We could bring in every community member that would like, or every church that would like to have a program. We could bring those in. Any AA and NA programs, instead of just having one or two come in, we could offer more availability to them, to the inmates. It's kind of like a if the shoe fits kind of thing. Not necessarily one program volunteer fits well with some of the inmates that we have. So if we're able to bring in more different volunteers, they might bond better with one program versus another. And so that's what we need is for our inmates to be able to find the continuation of care when they leave. So we would allow more programs in, we would allow more volunteers, give us more space to be able to do those various things. Not only would we open up more of what we already have, but we can bring in new programs as well.
I want a show of hands of those of you that actually have toured the current existing facility.
To help realize the need for a modern, efficient jail, Saline County hired architect Jeff Lane, a 20-year veteran of courthouse and containment facility design. Jeff stressed how much the needs of social reform programs for the inmates, as well as an open and calming atmosphere, informed the design of the new jail.
We touched base with the sheriff, talked to him, gave him some ideas about what it was that's out there, that's new and different, things that may help him from the program's perspective. And we talked about that, and the sheriff was very intrigued by that. Is one that's a proponent for that, understands programs are very important. These individuals will leave the county facility and go on and be a part of the community, whether it's in Saline County or somewhere else. And so for us, it's designing buildings and designing jails that give the ability for sheriffs and staff to do life skills, to do programs that help individuals reform and be able to go out into the community. So with the new facility and the new housing pod, we wanted to bring a plethora of natural daylight into the space. I mean, that's really important. And we've learned over the years as we've brought light in, whether that's through glass that's on the exterior of the wall, and skylights above the ceiling area, or through a rear chase component that brings it into both the cells and the day room, how much more calm and how much more less aggressive inmates are with natural daylight.
To close, I'll leave it to Sheriff Solden about the necessity of this program to the community of Saline County.
Well, it has a chance to positively impact our citizens, because if we can do something with the inmates to keep them from coming back to jail, that serves the citizenry well. It's just a win for the county in the long run, because what we're doing is going to be a big loss at some point. I just think I need to echo the fact that this isn't really a want. I don't want a new jail, but I need a new jail.